You know how some chiropractors quietly run their practices and live low-key lives? This is not one of those stories. Today's guest, he's written books. He's traveled the world, worked with NFL teams, and still finds time to talk about shockwave therapy like it's a Sunday afternoon hobby. Welcome back to Beyond Adjustments, the podcast that doesn't just crack backs, but cracks open ideas into chiropractic, into healing, into life. I'm your host, Amin Said, and today I'm joined by a man who wears more hats than a clearance bin at Lids. He's a chiropractor, he's an author, he's a speaker, a Minnesota Twins fan. We will forgive him for that. And a former team doc for Denver Broncos, Colorado Crush, and Denver Outlaws, if I'm not mistaken. And if that's not enough, he also golfs. That's the part I love the most because I love to golf, even though I can't golf to save my life. But he writes books like Motion is Lotion and somehow manages to help people actually feel better doing it. He's a man of many adjustments. Dr. J.T. Anderson. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much. It's just an absolute honor to be on your podcast. I've just listened to it for quite a long time now, and I think all chiropractors should check it off on their bucket list to make sure they subscribe.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Yes, thank you for that plug there. Yeah, I have so many more listeners than I actually do subscribers, which is fine. We're reaching like such a far reach and such a wide reach, and I'm loving it. I'm seeing the feedback, and people are learning and emerging DCs, all that fun stuff. So when veterans and seasoned folks like yourself come on, it just really warms my heart because the knowledge kind of is going to ooze off the screen. So I love that. Thank you again, Dr. JT, for coming on the show. Really.
You are so welcome.
Before we jump into like kind of all the fun stuff, the shockwaves, the whatever, dry needling, if we even get into that, whatever it is, I want you to take us back a bit. Okay. So you've been in practice for 30 years and you worked with elite athletes, I'm sure a wide gamut of things and different type of patients and people from young to old. How did your career lead from kind of the sidelines of the NFL games to write books about motion and healing? Kind of take us through that journey, please.
Well, when I was younger, I would say fifth, sixth grade, I really had a knack of being creative with my writing. Even some of my early teachers had asked me to do some, general writing on a character. So I came up with a mouse. His name was Ralph the Mouse, and I created adventures of Ralph the Mouse. He rides a motorcycle. He goes to the beach. He takes a camping trip with his dad. And so all these little short stories, I think I wrote about 10 of them, and maybe there were 12 pages apiece in the younger age. I just always enjoyed being creative, and this kind of overflowed into what I do now, which is, generally jump on the computer and write down my thoughts, whether it's journaling or whether it's just teaching. And so I just had a passion at a young age.
Honestly, there's a lot of people that take their their try at authoring and writing, and it sounds like it comes naturally to you, like you enjoy doing it.
It's definitely a blessing or a gift, yes. And, I'm certainly not going to stand here and say I'm the best author in the world, but it's just something that I think we all have a story.
Yeah.
And if you don't tell your story, nobody can understand it. So you have to tell your story.
Yeah. So, and let's be honest, right? Being the team chiropractor for the Denver Broncos must have come with a ton of stories, right? I mean, like imagine adjusting under pressure, right? Takes on a whole new meaning, right? When you're in the tunnel at halftime, right? So from your perspective, what's the biggest misconception athletes specifically, or maybe even weekend warriors, right, have about chiropractic care?
Well, I think more than anything, people are scared of the crack. They have watched way too many movies, or maybe friends have influenced them to understand that chiropractic can hurt you more than it can help you. And so I think these athletes feel like they've got everything under control using their athletic trainers through therapy and exercise. But once they start realizing that segmental motion or individual motion segments can be adjusted, the door opens up to a possibility of enhanced performance. And so many of those athletes that do start getting adjusted regularly, they just realize, where has this been all my life?
Right. So I can't remember. I want to say it was the Journal of Chiropractic Medicine. Um, I was, yes, I do research. Yes, I'm a nerd. Yes, I love chiropractic. No, I'm not a chiropractor, so leave me alone. But it showed that chiropractic adjustments improved even vertical jump height and like functional performance in athletes within like a short window of care. Even right, chiropractic isn't just about pain relief, right? It's about performance. You wrote outside the fence and no bones about it, right? What inspired you to go from kind of cracking spines to cracking the spine of that book?
Mhm. Outside the fence, a father's journey from a coach to a fan really started with me being on the inside with my son when he was playing t-ball. And I was either an assistant coach or a head coach all the way throughout his career up until he made high school team. And then I was given my pink slip, basically saying we no longer are needed. Your services are done. And I found myself having to go on the outside of the fence with those dads that never coached and with the moms. And it was a very hard transition for me.
Mm,
So 10 other dads poured their heart and souls into the book, and it's just very emotionally encouraging in a lot of different ways. Some stories are very heartbreaking, and some stories are just very, very motivating. The No Bones About It was my second book. It's a memoir of a chiropractor, and it just chronicles my history of about 25 years. Now that I'm in 30 years, I probably will do a second edition. But again, as a chiropractor, it wasn't as though I looked at the yellow pages. If you guys remember what a yellow page book looked like, it was something that I experienced as a young person. And around 10 years old, I started having some back issues, and the book chronicles that and how I got into chiropractic. And it also dives deep into developing power partners for those chiropractors or students coming out of school. Who do I go to attract referrals, and who can I refer to? And then it dives into our forefathers in chiropractic that spent time in jail, to further the mission of chiropractic. And so I think the book is well rounded, and it'll be well received and continue to grow in, the learning and understanding of chiropractic.
right. Hey, I got to ask, any chance your next title is like Chiroprac Tales Adjustments Gone Wild? Because I'd definitely pre order that.
You know what? I better patent that, market that right now, because that's a fantastic tagline. I love it. That is
Write
fantastic.
write it
I'm
down
gonna write
before
that
everybody
down.
hears it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Patent that thing or trademark it. All right. So your clinic offers everything from like shockwave therapy. I think you do cupping and dry needling, right? As
Yeah, to
well?
me, cupping and dry needling kind of go hand in hand.
Okay.
I'm now in Florida. I'm in the villages of Florida. And in Florida, you have to be acupuncture certified. So you have
Okay.
to have many, many hours. So I can't actually practice dry needling here in Florida. In
Okay.
Colorado, however, I can practice there. And so right now, the shockwave therapy is one of my go-tos because it delivers acoustic sound waves that break up all of that calcium tension. So if you think about like a salt shaker
Hmm.
here in Florida, it's very humid. If you leave
Yeah.
it out for a couple days, that salt just clumps up, and that's what happens to the muscles of our spine and our back. And
Yeah.
what the acoustic sound waves do is it gently breaks up all of that tissue. In regard to the salt, it basically helps to defragment all of that salt granules. And so, shockwave is kind of, in my opinion, the next step of healing.
Gotcha. So okay. I love that you kind of explain the science, I guess, of how that works, but how does shockwave like how does that therapy really complement chiropractic care? Is it chiropractic care? Is it a post an adjustment? Is it pre-adjustment? Can you get into that a little bit?
Well, chiropractic care is all about creating stimulation of the nervous system. The bottom line is reducing subluxations or issues that are creating a nerve interference. And true chiropractic is all about creating motion to those segments that are fixated or not moving very well to enhance the nervous system to communicate the way God intended it. Shockwave therapy is a physical therapy modality, just like dry needling and cupping, that is not considered chiropractic. It is an outsource or a resource that we can use to enhance healing. So the tissues, the muscles, and the tissues that connect to the spine basically need to be reduced as far as its stress level. Otherwise, the adjustment will not hold, in my opinion. So you have to have a balance of physical therapy, physical modalities. You have to have emotional techniques and nutritional techniques. So all of that work together.
Together. Yeah, it's like you're running a health tech lab over there, minus the white coats, of course, and clipboards. But anyway, you've got a whole section on your site dedicated to lumbar decompression. I was kind of reading through that. Can you explain how it works and why so many people kind of suffering from the chronic pain should be paying attention to that?
Well, I'm a patient. 20 years ago, I suffered a disc herniation doing some heavy lifting as I was doing some bodybuilding. And a medical doctor actually had the VAX D decompression unit, which is this large, sterile looking table. It was a $150,000 table, for what I was told. It didn't have any movement whatsoever. It was just literally a platform. And I basically did about 12 sessions within a month because of the herniations. He said, look, you're in a process now where if we don't take care of this naturally, you're going to end up with surgery. We're going to have to remove that herniated disc. And so through that month period of time, I started noticing the reduction of my pain. And I truly felt like, wow, I need to figure out a way to bring decompression into my practice. And I was introduced to the Chattanooga tables, which were basically a great starting point for me for both the neck and the lower back. And then I am actually a teacher for the KDT technique, which is a Kennedy decompression technique. And so I teach all over the country on decompression and the
Okay.
benefits of it. So again, it goes hand in hand with chiropractic.
Mm. Um, awesome. So for someone walking into uh, your office, doc, my shoulder shot, or my, I don't know, my lower back feels like it's on fire, or whatever it is that they walk in with. Like, how do you kind of take the time to evaluate that specific situation? Like, I know you can't, um, I know you can't do any dry needling right now to where you're at, but let's say they walk in and you're like, okay, whether after they tell you what's going on, whatever the pain is, do you immediately kind of jump into solutioning? Like, how do you approach that? Do you just say, okay, you need needling, cupping, and an adjustment, or all three? Or what's your approach to kind of assessing that situation?
Well, one of the things that I do, kind of as a resource, is I coach chiropractors and students. And what you want to do is make 80% about that first visit, about that particular person. You want to let them tell their story. You want to find
Mm,
out their touch points. Is what are they having difficulties doing, and how do they see themselves? Let's say in 5 years. If you start really taking over the conversation and making it more about you, then they're going to lose trust in you very quickly. So what I like to do is let them speak and talk. And I basically use the Socratic approach. Why do you think this problem happened? What are you doing at home that's creating this problem? And let them basically answer their own questions, be their own doctor. So it's amazing when you just sit back and listen for 5 to 7 minutes, and then you lead them if they go off on a tangent on how to redirect them. But your goal, I think, in that first visit as a chiropractor is to make sure that you're addressing, first of all, can they trust you? Am I in the right place? The second visit is really designed to understand how long will it take and how much will it cost. If you can address those four principles, that patient will go from a seeker, somebody that is seeking care, figuring out is chiropractic something beneficial. They'll become an understander. Eventually, they'll become a believer. And then ultimately, the goal is to become an ambassador, somebody that takes
right,
chiropractic to the world.
right. I want to talk about your blog a little bit. I think it's called Dr. JT. I wrote it down. Dr. JT's Insights: Lessons from a Chiropractor and a Father. Right? Is that what it's called? Did I get that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So that's not just branding, in my opinion. That's legacy, right? So what are some principles you've learned, kind of balancing your practice and family?
Well, I mean, first of all, God comes first, family second, my
Preach it.
practice third. So the bottom line is, if I am in line with the Lord and make sure that every day my prayer is, Lord, you send him and I'll serve him. Whatever might come my way, I know that I'm going to be going in the direction that I should be. The
Mm,
family, however, it's very important for them to understand the mission. This is not a job. As a chiropractor, 30 years into it, I get as excited as I did day one,
love it.
just with more experience. And they realize that when I put on a hat every day, and I basically have Doc JT hat that I put on before I enter the office, and then I take it off, and then I'm just JT, the father, the playful guy, pickleball, golf, etc. But I
Yeah,
think you have to have a purpose. When you walk into your office, you leave everything behind as much as you possibly can, because your patients deserve your attention. If you're
yeah.
not having the attention focus, they're going to feel it right away. You're a barometer. And so there's a difference between a thermometer and a thermostat,
Mm,
right? So, a thermostat is something you set it and you leave it there, 72 degrees. If you're a thermometer and you're hot and you're cold, your staff is going to feel it. Your
yeah,
patients are going to feel it.
yeah,
It's not a great environment.
yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I love that analogy. Actually, definitely not the first time I've heard it either. I think we should be that in our homes, in our businesses, in our friendships, in our every area of our life. Because I feel like if we just allow kind of the external to affect us, and then we become reactive, it's just not healthy for us, like first, and then for the people around us. And I also believe, like, as leaders in every area of our life, I don't care if you're a child, a man, a woman, doesn't matter. Having kind of that logical head, walking into situations, like trying to think through those situations and being, like you said, that thermostat, like knowing essentially, here's that the truth line, right? And believing that and knowing what that is, and not allowing the external to really affect the way we go about our day and how we treat the people around us. So I love that. So you worked with high performing adults, athletes, right? And then you got vulnerable kiddos, right? How do you adjust your approach when you're helping a pro athlete versus helping a parent in pain, or a child who just doesn't know what's going on, they can't sleep through the night, or whatever the case may be?
Well, doctor means teacher, and patient means to learn or to suffer. And so I look at every single person that I encounter, whether I can help them or not, is somebody that I can reach to a certain level. And if I can't help them, I try to make sure that I have a team that can. And
Mm,
it really bodes well when you have a good referral source. So if you think about a tree that has, like, an aspen tree in Colorado, has all of these different uh, basically tentacles that reach down into the earth. You
mm,
have to have different power partners and people that you can refer to directly. And so I never want to stand in front of somebody and say that I am the cure all be all. I want to let them know that you made the right decision by coming into the office, and we will find help that you need, whether we can help you or we can recruit others. So that's ultimately what I look at every single day.
nice. I mean, both might whine and need snacks like halfway through the visit, but one probably gets paid more. Anyway, so you're I want to talk about your writing for a second, because you're passionate about writing. Do you find that storytelling, kind of whether through blogs, books, obviously podcasts, actually helps patients heal? Like, there's something about narrative, right, that gives people permission to believe in recovery again. No?
Oh, absolutely. And again, if you look at it, many of our patients, even including myself, we're all sheep. And sheep, as you probably well know, are fairly dumb animals. They need to have a shepherd. They could see, they could be thirsty, and they could see a running brook of water that will refresh them. But because they're scared of that rippling effect, they
Mm,
may die of dehydration. I think our patients are the same way. They're looking for answers, and chiropractic is exploding people understand that medications are masking the symptoms in most cases. Obviously, there's some need for that as well.
Sure.
But patients are looking for alternatives because they understand that their body is their temple. And whether they like it or not, what they do right now will affect them 10, 20, and 30 years later. So
Mm.
our job as chiropractic physicians is to educate them. Some will, some won't. So what? You have to figure those three steps right there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Well, I've really been enjoying our conversation, by the way, up until now. You're one of few doctors that I've had on that are very precise when it comes to your answers. You can articulate well and quick, so I love that. I don't think I've gotten through a show this fast before. Thank you, thank you for knowing what you know and being able to articulate so quickly. All right, so I want to jump into the business, the growth, the chiropractic's future. Um, little disclaimer here. This is where I geek out, so sometimes I have to be reined in a little bit, just because I love the aspect of the growth. It's what I do, right? Obviously, but running a multi-service practice for nearly 3 decades, that's not a small feat, like at all. Like it's nothing to just be like, oh yeah, he ran a practice for 30 years. But what's been your biggest lesson about, because you got to stay relevant, right? You got to stay consistent. Consistency is key in everything we do. Um, like what's the biggest lesson that kind of about that, about staying relevant, consistent, and really inspired in today's healthcare landscape?
Well, that's a great question. It brings back a lot of memories. I remember first coming out of school, Parker University. At that time, it was Parker College of Chiropractic in Dallas, Texas.
Mm,
And I just remember thinking to myself, all of those inactive folders, because back in the day, you have to have folders. I was going to try to have a very minimal amount. And then within about 3 years, all of a sudden, these inactive folders kept stacking up, stacking up, stacking up. And I realized at this point that people will use a provider or a service for as long as they feel needed. It's not about you, it's about them. And maybe it's about whether or not they have firm conviction. In our case, in chiropractic, maybe we found a place for them that is a balance and they don't need chiropractic until they hurt again. Maybe they come in just 3 or 4 visits and, they just feel like we help them and they just never come back. Well, we always want to keep the door open for them, but those patients that are ambassadors, the ones that come in bi-monthly or monthly, year after year, and I could tell you so many of these wonderful practice members of mine that I call family. I don't have to let them know when I want to see them again. Their
mm,
body already intuitively understands that.
yeah.
My direction, though, is not to talk about the weather or the Minnesota Vikings or things outside of chiropractic. I feel like if I have a 10-minute session with someone, they deserve 80% of it about chiropractic. And if you have a focus every single day about a topic that you can cover and hit, it might be, did you know your body is 70% water? How much water are you drinking on a daily basis? What you
Mm,
always want to do is leave them with something that is going to change their life and maybe others.
okay. So a couple follow-up questions there. Your answer was very geared towards um, the patient. I love that, first of all, because that gets lost sometimes, right? It becomes about business, but there is a business aspect. There's a marketing aspect, right? You've been in business, you've been doing this for 30 years. So two follow-up questions. One, what are some of the most successful marketing tactics that you used over the years, that you would advise an emerging DC to use today in today's kind of landscape? And then two, what's something that you would stay away from and never do again?
Okay. Well, first of all, I would always have a coach. I did not have a chiropractic coach for the first 15 years of my practice. There was a lot of errors that I made that I could have easily resolved. I think even the students out there, which I do coach students as well, they need to have a mentor and they need to have somebody that they can communicate with outside of their peers or family.
Hmm.
That would be the first thing is you always have to have somebody that is, in my world, we call them Pauls. And then you have your Timothys and you have your Tituses. And for those that don't understand that concept, a Paul was a leader, somebody that would direct basically the next phase of their life. Timothys are those next level downs that are basically shepherding a flock. And then you have your Tituses. And Tituses are patients that are looking and searching for answers. They're constantly figuring out what the next step is. So in our life, we always have to have a mentor, a Paul. We have to have a Timothy, somebody that's speaking into us all the time. And so that is the first encouraging thing. The follow-up of that of your question is, what are some of the things that I wouldn't do? um, you have to understand the tribe or the family that you're cultivating in your practice. Generally, especially as a cash practice like mine, are those that are like you. So if you do a lot of marketing, let's say through Facebook or Google, you're going to get a lot of different varieties of patients that have maybe never had chiropractic. Fantastic. You'll get a lot of warm bodies in. Are they going to convert from a seeker to a believer, to an understander, to ambassador? So if you're wanting a lot of volume, then to go for marketing for sure.
Yeah.
But the word of mouth, connecting with, those power partners that I wrote about in my book, that is what's going to cultivate a really calming relationship within your practice, because you're attracting people like you.
Yeah. Love that. Actually, we're actually going through a series right now at my church, Titus series. So it's kind of cool that you mentioned that. It's very timely. So I think a lot of younger docs could really learn from the way you blend kind of old school patient care with I would say even modern modalities, because you've been talking about shockwave and stuff, and the marketing aspect. But so as the field of chiropractic continues to really evolve, really grow, what role do you think therapies like the ones you've been talking about up until now, like, will play in really defining a modern chiropractor?
In the villages of Florida, it's a 50 plus community. And so we have a lot of pickleball players, golfers, bike riders. It's a very active community. And people have moved here because they want to stay active for the entire life. So I'm going to give you this as an example. There's
Hmm.
a lot of times where patients will come in with plantar fasciitis. And yes, it's very important to readjust the foot bones themselves, work the chain all the way up through the spine, give them the proper exercise to do. But if you have modalities, especially some of the cutting edge modalities like shockwave, Groston therapy, you're able to bring in a whole fold of patients that may not want to be adjusted at all. In fact, I would say there's about 20% of my patients that currently come into the practice that don't ever get adjusted. They just told me straight up front, doc, I'm just not wanting a chiropractic adjustment. That doesn't mean that they won't later down the road, but what I want to do is fill the need of where they are at that point in time,
Hmm.
take care of them, and they'll refer other people like them
Yeah.
to the practice as well.
Yeah. On your site, it shows a very patient centered kind of model, with customizations, different stories, access to care, all that fun stuff. How important is that flexibility to building trust in your community?
If you don't do that, you're going to drive yourself crazy, because you can't conform to every single patient that has different needs. You have to be flexible in your
Mm,
thinking. But again, going back to that first visit, that first encounter, you have to find their touch points. What's driving them into your practice? And don't go outside of those boundaries, because they're trying to build that trust immediately.
mm. Okay, I got a challenge question for you. If you had to design the perfect clinic from scratch today, what would it look like, and what would you not be like? What would not be in it?
Well, chiropractic's foundation. With that, you have all the modalities if you choose to do those things: decompression, shockwave, dry needling, cupping, Groston, etc. I would have a recovery center as well. And I'm working on that with a medical doctor right now, where we're having hyperbaric oxygen, we're having infrared light, we're having, all of the different modalities, regenerative medicine side, PRP, stem cell therapy, HRT, all of that would funnel in there as well. I would
Nice.
offer medical massage, acupuncture. I would offer sports physical therapy specifically. I would also look at brain therapy. So I use Brain Tap by Dr. Patrick Porter. I also use the Magnosphere, which delivers very specific picotesla ranges to help decrease vagal nerve stress. So it's a full balance. And then, of course, I would always have nutrition in there as well.
Mm, love your answer. Very kind of an integrative approach. I love that you said that you're working with a medical doctor because, it's one of those reaching across the aisle situations because there's always been a clash and I hated it. I think if we worked to, chiropractors and, medical doctors work together, I think we'd get it. My God, the impact will be amazing. But anyway, so what's the most rewarding moment you've experienced like lately in the practice? Like whether from a patient win, a family moment, something behind the scenes, anything.
I just think now that both of my kids, my son is now 24, married about 3 months ago. My daughter is married New Year's Eve. So within about the last 6.5 months, they've both been married.
Wow.
And just seeing how my wife, Bethany, and I have cultivated wonderful children that have great spouses and extended family, to see how the Lord's blessed us because we've been obedient. That is probably the most rewarding
Mm,
aspect of what I've done. I didn't allow chiropractic and the practice or money to take over
mm,
making memories
yeah,
of the family. And
that's
I'm
good.
just so grateful.
That's good. That's good. That's so good. All right. So where can listeners find your books, your blog, all the amazing work you're kind of putting out there into the world?
Well, I think to get a hold of me either way on the blog, it's kind of all encompassing. I've developed a book website, and my fourth book is coming out this next week. It's
Oh,
called
nice.
it's called Younger Me, Older Me, Live Life Now. And I'll tell you straight up, it's full of scripture that help to lead you in your finances and your relationship
Mm,
within taking care of your body as well. So it's definitely a little bit of a right turn. But you can just go to www.jtanderson.biz, B-I-Z. And that's how you can get a hold of me. That's where you can read about more of my books and so forth, and
nice.
contact me if you want any type of coaching.
Love it. And I'll make sure all that's in the description wherever you're listening or watching this so you guys can get a hold of Dr. JT. So all right, doctor. So for someone who's on the fence about chiropractic care or trying, one more thing because they've been trying everything, what would you say to them?
I would let them know, within your body, it has a natural tendency to heal itself. And I would
Mm,
ask them, do you agree? Socratic approach. They would say yes. So if you have a cut, do you think it'll heal over time? Yes, it would. Well, why wouldn't you think that a shoulder problem would heal over time provided the right care? So the whole idea is leading questions, allowing them to be able to understand that they can help themselves if they allow their eyes to be open.
mm. Okay, so I got to tell you, full transparency here. It me being one of those people that was on the wrong side of the fence at one point, hearing that it's great in theory. How could you make that a little more practical for somebody that's completely against chiropractic?
Again, I would probably ask them, based on what you're telling me, your symptoms, you told me you've got headaches, you've got inflammation, you don't sleep well at night. Why are you having these problems? I'd break that down, even in a casual conversation. And
Right.
then I would ask them simply, where do you see yourself in 10 years if you didn't address this issue? Allow
Hmm.
them to kind of feed me with that.
See
And then I would let
themselves.
them know,
Yeah.
what have you done for these type of symptoms? I'm trying to do about a 2-minute elevator speech with them because
Hmm.
I'm busy. I have to look at it and say, I can only shepherd a certain amount of people. If I
Yeah.
keep getting these bumps back and forth, that might
Yeah.
not be the right patient for me at the moment.
That makes sense. Yeah. That's what I wanted to hear because I want emerging DCs to hear that you're not going to convince everyone that chiropractic care is an answer to anything. You're going to convince no one, if I'm being completely honest. But what you are going to do is you're going to come across people that have kind of been, let's say, eased into that the understanding and the mindset of what chiropractic care actually is. those are the people that you're going to be able to not just treat, but have the most success with. Because if their mind is not there, if they're just showing up to get cracked and prodded, they're honestly not going to see the benefit of it. Even if they're there, maybe they might see 10%. But if their mindset shifts and they actually understand what chiropractic care is, that's a completely different story, because our mind is so powerful and it can really play a huge role in our healing story. All right. One final challenge question for you, Dr. JT. If you had to leave the audience with one spine tingling truth about living well, it doesn't even have to be clinical. What would it be?
What you have to understand is where you are. I'll be 57 on July 4th. All right. My life has gone by very, very quickly. It
Sure.
really has. And I must say, it's been a great adventure, ups
Mm,
and downs. Obviously, been very blessed with the many things.
right.
Where do I see myself in 20 years when I'm 77? I am doing everything possible my younger self to take care of my older self. I
That's good.
realize that I have an obligation. I've seen, tragedies within my own family, extended family with dementia and so forth.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person. So I'm
Yeah.
going to do everything possible. And I would encourage each and every listener to look at what you're putting into your body will affect you down the road, especially
Sure.
if it's in an extreme. So take care of it, get adjusted regularly, take care of your nutritional and your mental health, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, I love that, man. And honestly, I think we all have that person in our life or persons that we don't want to be from a health perspective. Unfortunately, it is unfortunate, but yeah, let's shoot for something different, something greater, something sustainable, right? Yeah. Well, Dr. JT, thank you so much for being on the show today. I had a blast, man.
I did too, and thank you, and thanks for everything that you're doing for the chiropractic community and
Yes,
for
sir.
for bettering us. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. It is my pleasure, my honor. I honestly just want to show people what chiropractic care has done for me personally, for my kids, and their journey. I'm actually looking to do a podcast episode where I interview my kiddos so they can kind of share their story as well. So I think I'm going to do that here soon. But folks, that's a wrap, right, on this episode of Beyond Adjustments. Again, this is the podcast where we believe healing is personal, performance is possible, and yes, motion is lotion. Big thanks to Dr. JT Anderson for sharing his story, his wisdom, and his Minnesota sports loyalty. We didn't touch on that for a reason. I'm just saying. But we'll try not to hold that last one against him. And if today's episode gave you hope, clarity, or just made you laugh, go ahead and subscribe, share it with a friend, and maybe pick up one of Dr. JT's books. Again, I'll have that information in the description for you. So, healing doesn't just happen in the clinic, it happens when we tell better stories. Until next time, thank you, folks, for listening. Love you all.